Hello, everybody. Here's Tulia Lopes here in Cormac Walsh, coming to you directly from space again. Yes, we decided that, like, as we are in talking about digital transformation, AI technology, we need to be more in the future. Although we know that our discussions here are because we know how this technology is already sitting beside us, is part of our daily lives. And today, last week, I talked a lot about the negotiator, this new tool, this new agent in the ChatGPT. So
I think it was 2 weeks ago, no? Last week we were on your balcony.
Yes, it was when we were talking about the negotiator in our 10th episode. Yeah.
I thought on the 10th episode we were talking about the music and the digital discussion.
Oops, maybe you were right. So, okay, forget what I said. He knows better. He has a better memory.
Episodes ago we were in space talking about the negotiator. Last week we were on your
It
balcony.
doesn't matter. I always talk more than you as now. So now today is your time to shine, to be in the spotlight. So you have your silver lining there behind you.
Welcome to the spotlight from the darkness of space.
Exactly. And you're watching Cormac and I, we are exploring how AI technology can impact and is impacting communication, because we are both communication experts, and we are also studying, and we are studying to understand more what's behind the technology, but also only that, and how can we advise better our clients in the corporate environment? What are the best tools and strategy to bring to them with this AI technology? And I want Cormac to share what he have learned in our last past trainings. Cormac?
So while Tulia and I are very much communication experts and we're mostly the people in the room leading the conversations when we're teaching, we have gone back to school. Every day is a school day. And when we realized, listen, the enormity of what AI can represent to all of us and the possibilities that it can bring into our sector and our industry, we thought, look, we can't try to learn it on our own. We're going to have to go back. We're going to have to try to get some formal training, which we have been doing now over the last 3 weeks. I will be honest with everybody and say that it has been quite a jump. There has been a lot of maybe concepts that have been difficult at stages to try to understand. There's new language that you're learning. But what I've really found very interesting about this training is that it's not just talking about some of the tech aspects behind it and where AI comes from and how it can work, but it talks also very, very, very succinctly about the applications, what AI can do when you go inside companies. And last week in particular, there was a discussion around automation versus AI, which I can put my hand up and say that I had never, ever spent a second of my life thinking about. I never found myself in my life going, oh, let me stop and think about automation versus AI, because probably, like a lot of people out here listening, I would have told you, isn't that the same thing? Is it not? Like, what's the difference? I don't understand. I'm part of the
And what is the difference, Cormac? Tell us.
I have my notes.
Let's see if you learned the lesson. You can read your notes.
Inside in that class was that basically if you're going into a company and they're lacking automation and what you're trying to do is implement or to explain AI, you're talking about two very different worlds, because automation, which has been with us now for a considerable number of years, when you think about it, it's basically the more efficient, repetitive, minimum human interference involved so that a system can start to do a lot of the work on its own. So automated emails, potentially some automated accounts where each time accounts come in, they're in some sort of a spreadsheet, and then the human comes in and starts to revise a lot of the invisible work that's already been happening behind the scenes. I suppose here you can also talk about booking flights, booking tickets. There's a lot of invisible work that the website can do automatically that doesn't involve humans or AI. The difference that I've now learned with AI, and I'm referring back to my notes because I'm a good student, is that inside AI, while it can do a lot of that, while it can also help with the automation part of things, really the difference is that AI incorporates some very serious independent decision making. It is not solely reliant on the programming that you put into an automated email service or whatever automation you'd like to go. AI has the ability to start thinking and learning and understanding and making decisions for itself. Now, within the scope and the context of what it's been programmed for. So, if that AI is helping you with some of the things Tulia has talked about, the chat GPT itself, the negotiator tool, I recently, with some of my students here in the school, we went into, I don't know if you've seen it, Tulia, there's a creative writing tool now inside ChatGPT, and we played around with that for a while. So inside the creative content writing or the negotiator or whatever, there's a lot of room for independent thought as long as you're staying inside what that tool has been designed for, or the agent. So I find that conversation fascinating because, like a lot of people, I would have imagined, are you sure it's not just the same thing? Are you sure AI isn't a better version of automation? Does a company only need one? Does a company now starting to need both? Thinking of Tulia and I in the communication sector, automated emails and calendar was another great example. Your calendar, how you can book people, all of that takes a lot of an individual work off us as entrepreneurs and as runners of an increasingly prosperous business. I'm getting that in there, Tulia. But it's not AI. So when Tulia and I are sitting down and thinking, now it's time for us to talk about new nano trainings, and the first one is coming your way, and how can we do that, and how can we bounce around some of ideas, it does feel sometimes that this AI agent, Chatty and Spocky, it's like having another two brains in the room for that brainstorming, for the content creation, for the outlines, for all of that. So there is a very stark difference between the two things that I didn't understand, hadn't really thought about previous to last week's session. And again, hold your hand up high when the first kind of discussion point was, today we're going to talk about the difference between automation and AI. I thought, why am I here? What have I signed up to? Tulia Lopes promised me this was not going to be a technical course. What's happening? But the way it was explained made it was fascinating. Did you find that?
Yeah. Yes. And what there are two things came to my mind when I was listening to you, Cormac. Yes, the big mistake, like our trainer there was explaining, that most people, because we don't know this difference about automation and AI, as Cormac has very well explained now. Yes,
Mark at 10.
heart for you, heart. Many people and companies, for example, they might think, oh, I need, because everybody's talking about AI, right? It's a trend. And companies say, I need to IAify my company, my protocols, my flows, etc. When in fact what they need is automation. And what's the big difference here, as Cormac said, because AI, in a way, we say artificial intelligence, with now, I personally, hear me creating terminology. I personally prefer to call augmented intelligence. Why artificial? Is augmented. It is a creature by itself. But saying that as well, you said one thing that I want to mention. You said the AI thinks about something. Think, the word think. We also have to understand, and we learned this in our training. Think for us humans means something different from for the AI, because AI is not really thinking. AI is collecting all the information from what you type in the prompt and correlating all this data in certain protocols and then deliver to you a result. And we think like, oh, it is thinking about. And when you go in there to your chat GPT, especially now, Cormac, I forgot to mention to you, I discovered a new one, the O1, which is even more advanced than the 4.0.
There's an upgrade.
The O1 is more analytical. Another session, another episode. But when you see there I was testing the O1, you ask something, and this was another instructor in another training that I'm doing. He said, give it time. Don't ask something else. Give it time, and then we'll see. Oops, when you see that there is this analyzing, no, the timing there, that is, you need to give time. So that is here my point about the thinking. This is why I also back to the communication.
Okay, but sorry, can just there on the thinking, right?
Okay.
Just to have a little bit of a debate. Yes, and I would have been the first person to say don't use those verbs when you're talking about augmented intelligence because it's not true. But when you're in these conversations with them, and what you've just described there, correlating, getting the information, bringing it together, looking at it at different ways, presenting it. There is an argument. That's what we do, you and I, when we're being creative around how are we going to build this course, Cormac? What are we going to do? We sit down. I learn from you, you pick my brain, we bring it together, we correlate our past experiences and we create something. So I agree with you. Think in that context is not the right verb, but it does trip off your tongue because it is imitating what we do.
Exactly, but that's my point. I'm not saying you should not say, "Oh, the AI is thinking." We will use this. We will use this terminology because it's the way we humans communicate. But the important thing here is, if you're going to ask an AI, your ChatGPT, and you say, think about the day of this, it doesn't really think. It's going to get information about what the specifics. I'm just talking here about terminology, which for me, and today, Cormac, I was at IESE. You're supposed to be there, you're not there, but we were there, all the trainers for the communication training, the MBA program for this year. Cormac missed.
Okay, so
And the conversation of AI.
my sincere apologies to all concerned. I didn't think that that was.
Yes,
I
but
didn't think yes.
I share with you what happened because falls into this thinking. The conversation there about all the curriculum, etc. And someone asked, "Are we not going to, with the trainer, discuss AI in our training? How this can impact, influence, improve, enhance, etc."
Right, sorry. So just because you, just a little bit of context for people watching. Tulia and I work in the same business school. There was a meeting today to talk about curricular decisions about next year's course, which will begin in September, and very successful course that really has a lot of prestige around it. And so obviously they're working on it in advance, just for people to know what we're talking about. And then this conversation came up inside the teachers' meeting.
A good sales speech here. It's good, Cormac. Thank you. But then what I mentioned to the trainers there, that some of them have already started exploring as we are doing, but many of them, I would say, I would dare to say the majority, is still quite skeptical, right? And what I mentioned to them, I said, listen, Cormac and I have been using these tools, testing, but with the eyes of curiosity, not only using the tool and, oh, well, look how great is this feedback that I receive. We have been challenging ourselves through the tools by using the tool. And I mentioned this in past episodes, and I repeat because I want to reinforce and emphasize that this dialogue with your generative AI, that can be ChatGPT and there are others, Gemini and many others. If you come to this space to have this dialogue of, I want something from this agent, but you come with the perspective of not only posing your question without thinking about the structure of your question and what exactly you want, and also being careful about the language you use to communicate with, you are missing a big opportunity there. Because as I said, think, if you say imagine for the agent, for the ChatGPT, you cannot really imagine. It was going to get information for what is there already. It will understand that, oh, this human being imagine is getting all this protocol, all this data, and put it together and deliver something. But this is what I find important. If we can make an analogy with our communication in our daily basis, how many times we say something thinking the other person is understanding our intention. and we are not really saying it in a language that is relevant to that person, to our listener, to our audience. This is why I insist that exploring the generative AI is a good tool, a good experience, a good platform to enhance our communication. Goes too long on that.
No, no, but it was great and it was a fantastic explanation. And I think these are conversations that really many, if not most, learning institutions, whether they're universities, business schools, high schools, they're all having these conversations about how can we. I think everybody has moved past this idea of ChatGPT allows people to cheat and we have to shut it down and we have to find out who wrote the essay, who didn't write it, all the rest of it. There was that period that everything to do with generative AI was, in education terms, was attached to this allows people to cheat. There's going to be a drop in standards. There's going to be a drop of people thinking for themselves. Certainly, at the time, I will put my hand up and say, yes, I would have shared those concerns coming from a place of ignorance because I didn't really understand what was happening. As I myself, and I think because that conversation seems to have disappeared really, because certainly in my case, but I'm thinking in a lot of other teachers, once they start to use it themselves and start to realize, yes, I can throw in a prompt and get back a 6,000 word essay and I can try to hand it in on my own. Anybody that really wants to learn and is curious isn't going to feel that that's what they want to do. It's not the road they want to go down. Getting in there, using it to research, using it to refine, using it to get the best language, using it as a challenge, having their opinions discussed. I think anybody that truly wants to learn, which in the end is most people, they're not going to go down anymore that road of just give me the essay because I want to hand it into the teacher. They're going to use it as a tool and an agent to make the final product better. And I think that's been a big change in education because for so long everybody was so against it. And now you see students use it in their presentations, in their Canva, they use it for many different things. And I think that generation, as they start coming into the workplace, it's just going to be such a no-brainer for them that not only that they're going to be using a generative AI in many things, but that it's going to enhance their communication skills. It's going to enhance their ability. In fact, here at the school, I had done an open day the other day where one of the families had asked about that. What's the screen time? What do people use the screens for? And I said, well, look, you'll see that one of our subjects we really believe here in the school is communication. The children do learn how to speak in public. And a lot of them love to use Canva to build that presentation. So Canva is a tool to get that presentation, but Canva doesn't deliver it. They have to stand up. They have to now explain to their audience. They're very proud because they've put together a very beautiful, colorful, impactful, really professional looking slide deck, but it's still them talking. But the confidence that they get from the fact that they feel that this slide deck is really top notch helps them as a speaker.
Is also because while listening to you, I was thinking, remember when we were at college, we had to go to the library
Yes.
to do our researches and our essays and everything. And
Theory.
of course, that was limited. We had to copy, photocopy, and then handwrite things, copy or typewrite. But we had still to take the information and we had to do it ourselves in the structure we wanted. Then we came the internet, the volume of information expanded exponentially, but still you had more possibilities than handwriting in the library because you could copy and paste things in a document virtually, and you could organize, get your spell checker and all these kind of things. But it was still you copying and pasting, creating a structure, and then saying, okay, now it's fine. I think it's fine. Okay. And if you were someone that really loved to elaborate and using your own words, you would do that. It was an extra effort, but most people, you just copy and paste and put in different places. And if they're even more conscious about what they're doing, they'll put the source at the bottom with their citation, etc. Okay, that was the way the work was done in schools, projects. And nowadays, the big difference I find, you were in the educational program, you use students every day. I work with all adults in companies, etc., is a little bit different. And the difference here I see is you can still Google, you can, but now also you can ask a tool, an agent, to give you some information about a topic from a specific perspective. You can ask it to bring you different perspectives of the same topic and give you the sources. Then you can receive all this information, you can read them through and say, okay, but now let's make a summary of all of this, considering this perspective, this and this. Now I want you to add this. So this, I think, even if you're still copy and paste, listen to me, if you're still copy and paste, the dynamics that these generates will help you to learn more than in the past. Because in
Right.
the past, it was something static. Let's put this as static. You still copy, paste, and if you wanted, you change the wording, but it was still this one person, you copying and pasting and organizing. Now you have the opportunity to get all the information and say, okay, I like this perspective, I like this. Now summarize for me using this perspective. I want this structure, I want these sections. Now let's consider this exercise to me will be is already something plus on what we had before.
Although, when you think about it, right, because the two systems are very similar, you in the old days when we were there had students who, like you said, I need to get this, I'm late, I need to get it done, I copy paste here, there, I put it together, it looks more or less okay, decent, I hand it in. You had students who went in and found the right thing and they spent time with it. They took the information they had gathered and from that, they started to make decisions about it, use it, write it in their own words, etc. Today, so I mean, those two systems of I need to copy, paste, and cheat, or I need to get the information and really assimilate it, it's the exact same system now with generative AI. It's just so much faster and efficient. The person who wants to cheat will use it to cheat or use it to get the work done fast. The person who wants to use it as the biggest library in the world inside their computer and get all of that information so they can assimilate it, reflect on it, think about it, and use it to create. The two systems are still the exact same. It's just the
Right.
speed and the ability has gotten faster. So sorry, by that I mean as well, so much of it is to do with the end user. If you're using it because you want to be challenged and you want to learn and you want to get all of this information faster and think about it, then the end user in a way dictates how the system itself is going to be used. So the power is always with the human.
His power is always with human. But I say back to what you said, just complimenting. I think the systems, as from the past, are the same, but now it has a plus. The plus that I insist is the plus of the interaction, because
Yes.
I can still ask, bring me information about this from this perspective, and I have all that, and then I say, for example, which I've done in certain some of my researches. Is there any other perspective that I am not aware of that you can bring to me?
That I'm
And
missing.
then it will come with a complete different other perspectives, or not completely different, but from other people, from other sources that I was not aware of. This is meaning you were in our times in the library, what you had to research was in the library. You did not have anything else. If there was no more books, there was no more books. Then you had internet, and then you have Google, and then you had whatever Google gives to you. Okay, plus the library, but then we are not going to the library anymore. You get Google. But now you have the information from the internet still, and the possibility of this dynamic interaction, this brainstorm of, is there more than I don't know? Is there any author that is completely against this idea that I have? Was there anything written about this before that I'm not aware of? So all of this can come to us at our hands, and we did not have this access before. And of course, the decision on and the ethical side of how how you use the information, the ethics is the same. And but there is one saying from one German magazine called the Urology, like Marcus magazine. My husband is a physician urologist, and the whole article was about AI in health, and the one sentence that for me defined everything that was said there was AI is only as good as its user.
Yeah.
So there you go. It's gonna give you information, but if you also don't know how to ask and don't know how to take the most of it, explore and brainstorm, it's gonna give you some
Well,
very interesting things.
yeah, and I think that's a wonderful place to end tonight and then be ready for next week where we could take up because that basically the story you told today, and it's what I was certainly was there myself. There's still such amount of fear from the end user that maybe next week we could talk about how anybody who's watching us that is still a little bit afraid of trying to take that step, we could talk about some baby steps they could take into the world of generative AI and to start using it. What do you think?
So that's all for today. Well, we forgot to say something.
1, 2, again from space on a 3, 2, 1 countdown. 3, 2, 1. Everything
Everything
starts
starts with
with.
communication.
We're getting better and better at that.
We're getting better.
Really
Bye,
are.
everybody.
Bye,
See you next
everyone.
week.
Bye.